It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be pod-smacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Here is Rob Carson. Here is episode number 216 of the audio podcast, available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Audio Boom, SoundCloud, Google Play, Google Plus, YouTube, among other places. Oh, and Player FM. All of those places. Just Google it, you'll find it. And then also just you could tell your Alexa to play the Rob Carson Show podcast. She will play the latest episode of the podcast. Isn't that cool? Also want to say hi to everybody on Liberty One TV. Hello, everyone. Glad to have you here tonight. And glad to have you tuning in. If you'd like to write me personally, carsonontheradio@gmail.com. carsonontheradio@gmail.com. And if you haven't become a member of Liberty One TV, will you do so? It's very inexpensive. It's just 33 cents a day, $10 a month. $99 a year. All right? We'd appreciate it. Let's talk about the day's news, shall we? Yesterday, we learned that Robert Mueller, the special counsel who's investigating collusion against Donald Trump, with the Russians, I guess, we found out yesterday that there are at least 9 of his prosecutors that have donated to Democrat political candidates, and they're leftists. Okay, we know this. We know that there is one person who was working, Peter Strzok, with the special counsel, and he had exchanged anti-Trump, pro-Hillary text messages with his lover, his concubine, an FBI attorney. They let him go 4 months ago. What we're finding out today is how deep into the investigation of Hillary Clinton's emails, in which she was basically exonerated before any evidence could be really presented by James Comey, and the interview of Michael Flynn, who now has pled guilty to lying to the FBI. So apparently this guy, Strzok, took part in a January 24th interview with then National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. He is an FBI section chief in the Bureau's counterintelligence division, conducted the interview with Flynn at the White House. Flynn pleaded guilty on Friday to lying to the FBI during the interview. He acknowledged giving false statements about conversations he had with Russia's ambassador, Sergei Kislyev, during the presidential transition period. All right? Now, what you don't know is that he also, this Lisa Page, he was his concubine, they worked on Mueller's Russia investigation. That started in May after the firing of James Comey. But they also interviewed Hillary Clinton as well on July 2nd, 2016. And not soon thereafter, Hillary Clinton was cleared of any wrongdoing with regard to her email server. All right? Now, this is also interesting because Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin went unpunished after making false statements to the FBI. Did you know that? They faced legal consequences for their misleading statements with regard to Hillary Clinton's email server. They interviewed with Peter Strzok. Michael Flynn, pled guilty, but there were no felony charges, just a free pass for Mills and Abedin. Now, Mills and Abedin, they both said they had no idea, they were unaware of Hillary Clinton's server until after she left the State Department. That's what they said. Well, then you see some messages between them, and they knew exactly what was going on. Abedin denied anything about Clinton's server until leaving the State Department, but undercutting these denials are email exchanges with both Mills and Abedin either directly discussed or were involved in discussing Clinton's server. For instance, this is a Mills email from February 27th, 2010, 6 years before she left the State Department. HRC email coming back. "You are funny. We're on the same server," Cooper replied. A January 9th, 2011 email exchange. Another one of Hillary Clinton's underlings named Cooper said that he had to shut down the server. Now, Cooper told the FBI in his interviews that he discussed Clinton's server with Abedin in 2009 when it was being set up. All right. So I know this can be a little bit convoluted, but basically, Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills were able to lie about the survey. They knew exactly what was going on. There's copious evidence for it. But listen to this. This is James Comey defending the Clinton eggs' inconsistent statements in the House Judiciary hearing on September 28, 2016. He says, having done many investigations myself, there's always conflicting recollections of facts, some of which are central to the investigation, some of which are peripheral. That's what James Comey told Jason Chaffetz with regard to Huma Abedin and this other woman, Cheryl Mills. However, I guess that didn't apply to Michael Flynn, did it? It didn't. Michael Flynn was not able to have a conflicting recollection. No, not allowed. He had to plead guilty. Remember, Strzok was kicked off Mueller's team over the summer after the Justice Department discovered he'd sent messages to this Lisa Page person. Also, his ex-wife, Melissa Hodgman, was a Securities and Exchange Commission attorney, and she belonged to Facebook groups like We Voted for Hillary and Thank You, Obama. And we also learned yesterday that Strzok was the FBI agent responsible for softening language that Comey used in his July 5th, 2016 statement closing the Clinton investigation, saying that instead of being grossly negligent, they used the phrase extremely careless. What's the difference between those two words? One of them is a crime. Gross negligence is a crime. These guys are thick as thieves, folks. Thick as thieves. Now, Special Counsel Robert Mueller has asked Deutsche Bank to share data on accounts held by Donald Trump and his family. Germany's largest bank received a subpoena from Mueller several weeks ago to provide information on certain money and credit transactions. This has nothing to do with Russian collusion. This is a fishing expedition, all right, by people who want to destroy Donald Trump. It started off with Russian collusion. That went nowhere. These people, Democrats, the DNC, Barack Obama's Organizing for America, Hillary Clinton's campaign, paid for a dossier. The reason why they paid for a Russian dossier was so they'd have just enough to convince a FISA court that Donald Trump's campaign, Donald Trump's transition team could be eavesdropped on. So they could cast a wide net on anything, and it wasn't about Russian collusion. Russian collusion was a distraction from Hillary Clinton and her Uranium One deal. That's what this is all about. This is, and I heard Sean Hannity say this yesterday, this is weaponizing the Justice Department to go after anybody. And chances are somewhere in your life you've done something that some might consider to be criminal, or you might have broken a law. You probably break a law every single day of your life, and you don't even know about it. But there are a lot of people in the news media who are slobbering all over this, convinced that, aha, this is it. This is it. Obstruction of justice by firing Jim Comey. Well, it turns out not so much. Now they're going to go after his banking records and his business transactions, and they will go after whoever, Jared Kushner, Trump's son, Trump's daughter, anything they can do to take down this president. The New York Times reported that bank regulators were reviewing hundreds of millions of dollars worth of loans that Donald Trump's businesses had with Deutsche Bank. Apparently, he has more debt with Deutsche Bank than any other lender, about $300 million. So we moved on from Russian collusion, again, which was an attempt to distract from the real collusion between the Russians, and that was Hillary Clinton selling 20% of our uranium reserves to the Russians in exchange for $145 million to her fraudulent charity. It's a joke. So ABC News president says Brian Ross will no longer cover stories related to Donald Trump. It's an interesting piece. It says, that's the sort of thing you would do if you'd concluded he's incapable of covering a topic fairly, right? If it's an innocent mistake born of carelessness, there's no need to declare certain topics off limits, right? ABC is saying that Brian Ross is incapable of being an objective reporter with regard to Donald Trump. That's what this is all about. So as far as a source changing their story, this points to the fact that I think Brian Ross made the whole damn thing up. He made the entire thing up about Donald Trump and Michael Flynn And Donald Trump telling Michael Flynn to talk to the Russians during the election, which was proved wrong. And it sounds like it was based solely on a political ideology. Brian Ross was very left of center and very anti-Trump. There you go. Otherwise, you dust yourself off. You say, if it's on a mistake, go back in there and cover it. ABC News saying, no, you're not going to cover Donald Trump anymore. The president, James Goldston, said in a conference call, I don't think ever in my career I felt more rage and disappointment and frustration than I felt through this weekend and through last half of Saturday. I don't even know how many times we've talked about this, how many times we have talked about the need to get it right. That's how we have to take to be right and not first. And how in this particular moment with the stakes as high as these stakes are right now, we cannot afford to get it wrong. Well, they wanted the story, and everybody wants the story. Everybody wants the story of Russian collusion. Everybody wants the story of whatever. Now the story is obstruction of justice. Now the story is shady business deals with Deutsche Bank, I guess. That's where they're going to go. And then the story will be Donald Trump is insane. Anything they can do to disrupt or destroy this presidency at this point. And the media, thick as thieves. Thick as thieves. Unbelievable. Was it because ABC thought it had a too good to check scoop, wanted to beat competitors to the punch? Or was it because Ross had the scoop and you don't need to question a star reporter when he tells his underlings that what he has is solid and he needs to be put in front of a camera right now? Yeah, that's what Ari Fleischer said, Bush secretary, press secretary, over the weekend. This is pretty remarkable stuff. And if it were Hillary Clinton and a special counsel with 9 pro-Trump, anti-Hillary attorneys on it, the world would be upside down right now. This is a witch hunt. I don't care what you think about Donald Trump. If you don't like Donald Trump, this is weaponizing the DOJ. But is this a big surprise from the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton, part of that administration? They weaponized the IRS, you know. They weaponized the IRS to go after 501c3s and silence them before presidential campaigns, conservative 501c3s. Big surprise? Not really. Not really. This is... Okay, here's the latest sexual harassment goodness around the country. It looks like a woman who worked for John Conyers for more than a decade said he slid his hand up her skirt and rubbed her thighs while she was sitting next to him in the front row at church. Alyssa Grubbs made the allegation in an affidavit released last Monday by her attorney, Lisa Bloom. Grubbs is the cousin of another accuser, Marion Brown, who reached a confidential settlement for, I believe it was $27,000 with Conyers over sexual harassment allegations. Broke the confidentiality agreement to speak publicly last week. This woman, Alyssa Grubbs, said, Conyers slid his hand up my skirt, rubbed my thighs while I was sitting next to him in church. I was startled and sprang to my feet and exclaimed, he just ran his hand up my thigh. Other staffers witnessed the event. She also said that Conyers touching and stroking the legs and buttocks of Brown and other females staffers on multiple occasions. Grubbs said witnessing such harassment was a regular part of life while working with Representative Conyers. One time when Grubbs was at Conyers' home, she said he came out of the bathroom naked when he knew she was in the room. Conyers' attorney Arnold Reed told the Detroit Free Press that the allegations by Grubbs are another instance of tomfoolery from the mouth of Harvey Weinstein's attorney. And apparently this attorney Bloom had represented Hollywood executive Harvey Weinstein. I don't know if it was because of the sexual harassment lawsuit or another case with Harvey Weinstein, but she did represent him. Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf announced on Monday that his office is developing an anonymous reporting system for sexual harassment and sexual assault at the state's capital. So another state capital under fire here. And right now, while all the attention is being focused on Washington, D.C. and Hollywood, there are a whole lot of people in media, there are a whole lot of people in state capitals across the country that are waiting for the ball to drop at them. Now, this is just the latest. So this doesn't say to me that this is a state legislature and a governor out in front of a crisis, it says to me, CYA. It says to me, major CYA. I do radio sometimes at KFYI in Phoenix. Don Shooter is a bigwig there in the House. He's been accused by 6 women of sexual harassment. Since it's gone national, since Al Franken's been on the front page and John Conyers, you haven't heard a whit from the Arizona State Capitol. Same thing happened in Missouri. Haven't heard a thing from the state of Missouri. But you know, this sort of behavior has manifested itself in state houses around the country, in the state capitol, in Hollywood, and now we know also in the biggest bastions of media. Unbelievable. COO of Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, wrote about her own experiences with harassment, including a hand on her leg under a table at a meeting, married men offering career advice alone at night, most alarmingly, a man at a conference who came to her hotel room late and banged on the door until she called security. She's worried about workplace repercussions that could limit the opportunities women have in their careers. Says, I've already heard the rumblings of the backlash. This is why you shouldn't hire women, she said. She says, actually, this is why you should. And there could be some backlash, you know, and there could be some innocent men taken down by this. Because there are some people who are so ambitious in their careers, they don't care who they hurt. That could be political. That could be professional. This is all about power. This is all about wealth. This is all about fame. And it happens in businesses across the country. I hope ultimately this works out to be a positive and it doesn't affect women in a negative way as far as being hired. ESPN Vice President Roxanne Jones claimed that CNN, she said that women enable sexual predators. Jones brings to attention to the many female NBC employees who reportedly covered up Matt Lauer's alleged sexual predatory behavior. So they're not, they didn't say anything, essentially. She said behind every sexual harasser, be he Matt Lauer or the man next door, likely stands a woman willing to excuse, cover up, or feel heartbroken for the abuser once his lewd behavior is exposed. Yeah. By the way, that big bag of sex toys that was found in Matt Lauer's closet or desk in his office, it was given to him by a sex therapist. He said he wanted to spice up his marriage. So she gave him a bag of sex toys. Well, you know, you could also stop banging everybody in the office there, Matt. That might help. That might help. The RNC is getting back into the Alabama Senate race. They're going to transfer funds to the Alabama Republican Party following Donald Trump's official endorsement Monday of Roy Moore. And that election is going to take place in a week. While Trump and the RNC are backing more, the National Republican Senatorial Committee is not changing its stance. An NRSC source says it's staying out of the race and that Chairman Senator Cory Gardner of Colorado remains committed to his position. By the way, the legal age of consent in Alabama is 16. After the RNC decided to get back in the race, another woman who says that she was 17 found a note in her attic. She was hauling out boxes of Christmas decorations last week. She noticed it, and it had a little line that said, "Happy graduation, Debbie. I wanted to give you this card myself. I know that you'll be a success in anything you do, Roy." Okay, that's an older guy giving a kid a graduation card. Now, this woman says that Roy Moore was he was in his 30s. She was 17 when he spoke to her high school civics class, asked her out on several dates, but did not progress. Beyond kissing, that's all that happened. Roy Moore saying he doesn't remember the civics class. I think Roy Moore had a penchant for young women. I do. This woman was the age of consent. We've heard a woman as young as 14. And right now, there's nothing to corroborate that. I'm not a big fan of Roy Moore. To me, he sounds like there's some credible allegations against him, and he was kind of a dirty old man. You know? I dated a 17-year-old once when I was 17. The age of consent is 16, and some people will, okay, 16, cool, let's go. 17. Okay, great. Let's go. 18. Let's go. I think there's something wrong with them. People of Alabama will decide, and if they decide to continue to then investigate this and remove him from the Senate and replace him with someone else, then that's what they'll do. We need another Republican senator. Let the people of Alabama decide, and then we'll see what happens. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say. In the wake of Weinstein, men are wondering if hugging still is okay. Did you know that? We don't need to reevaluate the way we act, because I think most men are good and decent, and they know the limits. They know the line. And this is what I'm afraid of. This is a distraction from the creeps, from the pervs, from the Al Frankens, from the Matt Lauers, from the Harvey Weinsteins, from the Kevin Spaceys. And it's meant to, well, you know, I mean, we're not the only ones who do this. I mean, they do this all across the country. Everybody does this. No, they don't. Steve Wired knew what sexual harassment looked like, thought he knew. A put out or lose your job overture, now he's not sure. Have we gotten to the point where men can't say that's a nice dress, or did you do something with your hair? Says the veteran sales associate for an LA company. The potential problem is you can't feel safe saying anything. Good morning anymore. CEO Tom Turner of BitSight Technologies, cybersecurity company in Cambridge, Massachusetts, held a training sessions for its 270 employees on sexual harassment last month. Worries about the effect the national fervor will have on the workplace. Did you know that? His wife, the CEO at a health maintenance organization, got a complaint from a woman just last month who believed the fellow employee was getting too personal. You want to know what he asked? He just asked the person, what did you do over the weekend? He was reported. She evaluated it and decided it was not a problem. But a woman would report that a man asked her, what did you do over the weekend? That was too much. That was too far. That crossed the line. See what I mean? John Firth, who worked for years as a spokesman for California government agencies and a California congressman before becoming a consultant, says he was always careful to keep an innocuous inquiry about someone's weekend plans to himself, particularly if he was talking to a woman he supervised. Looking back, he says, he believes his most egregious transgression was ordering a female intern to get him a cup of coffee. He says he wouldn't do that now. She glared at me like I was the worst person in the world. I would like to apologize to her now, but after these many, many years, I can't remember her name. You know, you're an intern. Go get me a friggin' cup of coffee. Get over yourself. It's those cases that every guy was sweating as they wonder whether they might have leaned in a little too close for a hug, or if they should have kept that oral sex joke to themselves or just between them and their male friends. Well, yeah, duh. Independent filmmaker Laura Lee says, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't. There's a sense of shame. That's what she sees in terms of her male friends now. She says she's been reassuring male friends that giving her a friendly hug and when they greet her isn't harassment. It's the flat-out propositions and unwanting body grabbing of body parts that needs to stop, she says. Well, duh. We all know this. We don't need to re-examine us. We don't need to re-examine us. Every man who has sexually harassed knows what he did. John Conyers knew. Al Franken knew. Give me a friggin' break. Matt Lauer knew. Nancy Pelosi talking about the Republican tax cuts that have passed both houses. And it's not just a tax cut. It is actually the end of the world. Here she is.
It's the end of the world. This healthcare, the debate on healthcare is life, death. This is Armageddon. This is a very big deal because you know why? There's really a very hard way to come back from this.
Yeah, the way to come back is more jobs, more companies staying in the country, more businesses investing in people, salaries going up, infrastructure being built. I'm talking for the companies, by the way. So why is it that it's always the end of the world when Democrats talk about you keeping more of your money? When taxes go down, why is it the end of the world when taxes go down and government has to survive on less? Why is it the end of the world when government that is so bloated and corrupt in so many ways? Why is it the end of the world when they have to get their ducks in a row? So much money is wasted in government. It's time that they live the lives that we have to lead, which is living with less, being thrifty with what we have. That's it. It's not the end of the world. Oh, by the way, Facebook. A lot of women are pissed off at men for all the sexual harassment that's going on. So they've been saying things like, men ain't shit, all men are ugly, men are trash. Well, these women are being booted off Facebook. They're being suspended. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, other social media platforms, when women attempt to call out men like Matt Lauer, and when they generalize about men, they've been getting. Boston comedian Kayla Avery said she's been banned countless times after disparaging men by posting "men are trash" on Facebook. I don't think you need to call all men trash. I think she has an inherent dislike for men to begin with, don't you? Kind of, yeah. Hey, before we go any further, I want you to just check out the screen here. You'll see some of these cool designs right over here. You're right there. There we go, right there. Some of these cool designs, these are all available on T-shirts. These are all available on bumper stickers. These are all available on onesies, tank tops, hoodies, sweatshirts, laptop covers. Here's some of my designs in sticker form. Murderous commie douchebag, not a hero. Proud climate change denier. Russia. All of these are available, and if you'd order right now at tpublic.com/user/conservatees, T-shirts only $14. Any one of 66 designs. I'd really appreciate it if you'd order something. Got a good buddy named Sam Cangelosi. He is a brilliant graphic designer. We've come up with politically incorrect designs that I think you're going to love. Article in November issue of Pediatrics Magazine by Dr. Lena Nahata, professor at Ohio State University of Medicine, Columbus, delivers a cautionary tale about expectant parents holding gender reveal parties or even informing friends and family about their upcoming bundle of joy, whether it's a boy or a girl. By celebrating this single fact several months before an infant's birth, are we at risk of committing ourselves and others to a particular vision and set of stereotypes that are actually potentially harmful, okay? And this is including, by the way, finding out you're going to have a baby boy and painting his room blue, or a baby girl and painting her room pink. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. Nahata works with transgendered children and family of infants born with congenital conditions that complicate a gender designation. Currently, she writes in her editorial, 1 in 4,500 to 5,500 infants are born with such conditions. This woman obviously a little too close to this to have any common sense. She counsels parents as they wrestle to recast stories they told themselves about their children's futures, dreams of cheering a son on at Little League or shopping for a prom dress with their daughter. It's true that there are children born with atypical genital structures due to chromosomal damage, but the doctor herself admits that this only takes place in less than 0.02% of all births. The problem is that if a child eventually decides to trade the assigned gender for one that seems a better fit, there will likely be pain and awkwardness all around, at least for a while. It troubles Natasha to hear a parent say, I have to mourn the loss of a daughter I have raised before I can move forward with my son. She's not troubled by the unscientific assertion that a daughter turned into a son can be turned into a son. And this, of course, includes a cocktail of chemicals and hormones to change their bodies and stop puberty. Natasha blames parental stress on harmful traditions that celebrate a child's sex and spur parents to invest in particular vision and set of stereotypes. Bullcrap. We have now not just social justice activists, but a subset of actual medical professionals and educators buying into a concept which is completely unsupported in the field of study. Doctors are supposed to be scientists and follow the data wherever it leads them, not promote skewed political ideologies to the point where we're putting foreign hormonal cocktails into otherwise healthy children to thwart the onset of puberty. And the problem has already erupted among elected officials who are responsible for setting policies in schools and public facilities which involve gender. We are mutilating children. Or we're mutilating children. Whether that be surgery, whether that be stopping puberty. This is mutilating children before they have the common sense to know what they're doing. And I believe about 80% of the time, kids who start transitioning to the opposite sex change their minds after their 18th birthday. So you're not getting hormonal shots. You're not having your breast removed. You're not having your penis cut off. You can wait until your 18th birthday. And if you say you're going to cut your penis off, I will have you committed. Because that's insane. Portland, Maine has a new transgender school policy. New rules established by the school board, which will not only allow school-age children to pick which gender they'd like to be, but forbids teachers from arguing with them or even taking the side of the parents if they disapprove. On Tuesday, November 28th, the Portland Board of Education unanimously approved a motion that requires all Portland, Maine schools implement annual staff training on gender issues. Use a student's preferred name and personal pronoun, and take the student's side at school if there is a disagreement with the parents' wishes. So the parents have no say here. And the teacher will side, and the school board and the principal will side against the parents with the kids. Unbelievable. The intent is to create a space welcoming for transgender individuals and pupils questioning their identity. The main purpose is so teachers and students now respect whatever their peers choose to identify as. The policy is consistent with state law, which since 2014 has allowed boys and girls to use whatever bathroom they please based on their identity. Portland can now have second-grade boys showing up and declaring that they're girls, and the teachers will have to refer to them as such, even if the parents specifically object. So let's get this straight. Your school system won't allow the nurse to dispense an aspirin to a student without specific instructions from the parents. They can't go on a class trip without mom and dad signing off on it, but they can decide that they're a different gender and make the adult teachers treat them as such while overruling the parents on the matter. Well, that does appear to be so. That does appear to be so. Ace mattress family size bed. 144 inches wide, 40 inches long. More than twice the size of an average queen-size bed. Why do they have this here? Well, apparently a customer came up to them with a special request. Client wanted a bed large enough to fit all of her children while she read them a bedtime story. And that's fine. That's fine. The whole thing will set you back about $4,000. If you want the sheets and you want the box springs and the whole deal. This also, by the way, and obviously it's not a good idea for infants. Children who sleep with their parents are much more likely to suffocate, suffer from SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. 2015, Elizabeth Boyce of Plano, Texas, was forced to address harsh criticism she and her family received following her decision to speak publicly about their custom bed, which allows separate surfaces for her and her husband, Tom, and each of their 5 children, ranging ages 1 to 11. One bedroom, everybody sleeps in the same room. Everybody sleeps in the same room. They call this, co-sleeping or something? When my daughter was little, she'd come in and lay between us every once in a while and spend the night, but I don't think it's a good idea. There's nothing sexual about it. It's just, I think the kid needs their own bedroom. I think the parents need their own bedroom. For sanity's sake, thank you very much. Coming up, I'm going to share the Black Gay Santa Claus book. Also, a scientist says he's engineered the perfect Christmas song. I'll share the song with you. All right? SNL's run into a bit of turbulence over a weekend the skit that some viewers are calling insulting. Sketch comedy made fun of a flight on Irish airline Aer Lingus. Apparently, they just discovered that Aer Lingus sounds like cunnilingus, and so they made a big joke about it. Ha ha, real juvenile and stupid. The comedy bit featured Irish actress Saoirse Ronan. I don't know what her name is. SNL vet Cecily Strong. It included several stereotyps about Irish people, such as love of potatoes and dogs, and having thick accents. The Irish Times published a lengthy article Monday panning it as unfunny paddywhackery. Okay, you're trying to not make fun of Irish stereotypes, and you're the Irish Times, and you pan it as unfunny paddywhackery? Paddywhackery? Really? Really, guys? Nearly 4-minute skit featured Ronan and Strong dressed in green uniform speaking in heavy Irish accents. Ronan sporting an unflattering bouffant hairstyle, making fun of the name Cunnilingus, Aer Lingus, ha ha ha. I did that a long time. I did that bit in my 20s. Yeah, I wrote a comedy bit for a comedy network, and I said, what would happen if Continental and Aer Lingus got together? And you'd have Contalingus. But apparently they're just now getting juvenile humor at SNL. Here's a little bit of the bit, and the reason why it's okay is because you're making fun of white people, right? You're making fun of white people. Here is a little bit from the SNL bit about Aer Lingus.
Okay, so now that you've met our captain and his shillelagh, let us introduce ourselves. I'm Colleen, and I'm Brianna. In the back we have Maeve, and now she's going to tell us a bit about the menu. We get fingerling potatoes, we get purple potatoes, and we got salmon. I'm sorry, I misread that. The salmon is also potatoes. Thank you. Very good. And Maeve, get back to the back now.
Excuse me, will I make my connection to New York City? And also, there's a strange dog that's jumped into my lap.
And is he bothering you, sir?
Not really, it's kind of sweet.
Aww, sounds like you made a new friend. Good.
Yeah. So I'm going to make that connection to New York, or...
You know what? Here comes the lady with the orange sticks. Perhaps she has more news.
All right, I've got him. The dog on the runway was the captain's dog. I knew it was him by his soul and the information on his tags.
I guess I didn't know all these stereotypes about Irish people. I mean, I knew the potato thing. I don't know if making fun of the potato famine is such a good thing, but I didn't know the dog thing. And I'm supposed to be Irish, English, and German. At least that's what I've identified as my entire life. Well, I think this would be a good song for the next story I'm going to read about gay black Santa now, apparently, in a new book.
Call me back, though, Santa. I make my runs about the break of day. They call me back, though, Santa.
Uh-huh.
I make my runs about the break of day.
It's Clarence Carter, by the way.
I make all the little girls happy while the boys are out to play.
Sounds kind of like Judge Roy Moore, doesn't it?
Look at him.
Yeah.
I ain't like old Saint Nick. He don't come but once a year.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Clarence. I think we've heard enough of Clarence Carter and Backdoor Santa. New Christmas story about gay black Santa Claus intending to send a message to kids this year about celebrating difference. Children's book is called Santa's Husband. It's on shelves this year, featuring a fresh twist on Kris Kringle. Starts by introducing Santa Claus, who is black, and his white husband, Mr. Claus. They're married, the book clarifies. Written by American screenwriter Daniel Kibblesmith and illustrated by Ashley Quatch. The book tells a holiday tale of how the couple work together, dance and play games, and occasionally get into arguments before making up over a plate of cookies. The book is clearly a step away from the traditional Christmas tale, typically including a white Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. This is an article, I think this is from The Atlantic. So it's pro-black gay Santa. Despite the fact that Santa is clearly black and gay, this bears little on the weight of the story. In fact, the couple appear more or less like most others, with the exception of feeding flying reindeer and flying with elf labor disputes. More than anything, it's a Christmas book. According to the author, it's really about your own family being unique and special and having its own unique and special Christmas time. You know. No, not really. It's about essentially changing fundamentally, historically, what this is all about. Santa just happened to be St. Nicholas, and he was a white guy. He was a Caucasoid. The story is that he married Mrs. Claus, They don't have any children, I assume, because he feels like the children of the world are his children. Right? The book was born out of a tweet sent by Stephen Colbert last year after learning the Mall of America in Minneapolis was featuring a black Santa Claus. He declared he and his wife's future child would only know about Black Santa. If they see a white one, they'll say that's his husband. That's when they wrote the book. Okay. Kibblesmith said that the mission was simple, writing a default introduction book to Santa Claus while just changing some superficial details. Santa Claus still lives at the North Pole, still delivers presents to families all over the world on Christmas Eve. Kibblesmith says the book has garnered mixed reviews, with some praising the duo for their fresh take on the traditional tale. Now listen to this. But others have not been as open-minded, you see, with one social media user telling them to stop rewriting history. So you're an open-minded if you're not open-minded if you disagree with them. Kibblesmith says there have been a lot of knee-jerk responses from people who object to it politically and philosophically. I honestly think that most of the objections just come from the general uneasiness of change. No, not really. It's about, there was nothing wrong with the straight Santa and his wife. There's nothing wrong with it. You want to come up with, create a new character. Create, Elfie the Elf, and he's gay, and he lives with his gay reindeer or whatever. But don't rewrite Santa Claus. Don't rewrite Santa Claus. Ridiculous. Finally, a scientist says that he has engineered the perfect Christmas song. Musicologist, Boston Conservatory, Joe Bennett decided he wanted to write the perfect Christmas song, so he studied lyrics, tempo, vocals, music key of 200 of the top Christmas songs to figure it out. Now, my wife would say the perfect Christmas song is All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey. That's a gimme. Every chick digs that song. They love it. They dance around. They get all goofy. It's like Dancing Queen at one time was like the most popular dance song at wedding receptions. I think it still could be. But All I Want for Christmas is a perfect Christmas song to any woman out there. It is. He says that it's important to use words like, listen, this is amazing. This is this breathtaking intellect. You need to use words like Santa, snow, home, peace, and love in the lyrics. But especially the word Christmas itself. Imagine that. You need the word Christmas in a Christmas song. Song needed to be in a major key, have an average tempo of 115 beats per minute, and plenty of sleigh bells. So he came up with a song, and it's called Love's Not Just for Christmas. He says the happiest Christmas song ever. And it actually is not bad. It is not bad. Here it is. Here's a little bit. Sounds like a Christmas song. Yeah. That's not bad. All right. That's not too bad. Not too bad. That's going to do it for the podcast today, everybody. I hope that you'll become a member of Liberty One TV. Okay, it's only 33 cents a day, $10 a month, $99 a year. I also hope that you will consider buying something from my swag line, which will be available on liberty1tv.com in the garment section. They have a bunch of T-shirts, politically incorrect stuff, and my stuff is going to be added there. Also, if you wouldn't mind sharing my podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and assorted media as well. Have a glorious day. Merry Christmas, by the way, even though it's not Christmas. I'm going to say it every day until Christmas. Take care of yourselves. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram. I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.